Hello to all you lovely flossy friends who live in my phone. Welcome to Flosstube number 7. Today is Saturday, the 2nd of August already, 2025, and I've got lots to show you today. Welcome back if you're a returning viewer. I'm thrilled that you've decided to come back and spend a little bit more time with me. As I've said before, that is the biggest compliment I could ever hope for. And if you're new here, welcome. I'm not sure how you found your way here, but I'm delighted that you have. I hope you like what I've got to share with you today. There are so many fabulous floss tubers out there, all with different styles, different stitches, different approaches to their floss tubes. That I'm delighted that you've decided to give me a try and spend a little bit of time with me. Hopefully you will like hanging out with me. If not, it's okay. There are so many people out there. We all have different tastes. You will find somebody who absolutely hits your vibe, and I will promise I won't take it personally. But if you do like it, please feel free to hit the like button, subscribe if you'd like, that would be wonderful. You can always ring my bell and have alerts sent when I next post. But for now, just relax, all of you. Grab a drink, chill, grab your stitching, and let's just hang out for a little while. Old friends and new are both very, very welcome here. I was reminded of a stitch I did, one of my very first cross stitches actually, and it was a leaving present for some friends who were moving away. I would have been in my late teens at the time, and it was a cross stitch of a cat sitting in lavender, because they were very much cat people. And I had a little quote on her that said, "Make new friends, but remember the old, for one is silver, the other is gold." And I think there's a lot to be said for that little saying. But at the same time, everybody is equally welcome here. And to me, you're all platinum, if that doesn't sound too condescending, but you are. I value each and every one of you who chooses to spend some time with me, however long you might decide to stay. So what have we got for you today? I have got 14 projects to share with you that are things that I have worked on over the month of July, everything I've touched in July cross stitch wise. There are another couple of little things to show you as well. We'll get to that in just a minute, but some of these you've seen before. July I decided to switch up my approach a little bit and try and get more of a balance between seasonal stitching, which I've done over the last kind of 3 months, kind of Easter, Halloween, spring, Raccoon June, that kind of stuff, and also ongoing whips, because I was finding that I was so busy focusing on the seasonal stuff that I wasn't actually paying any attention to the things that I had on the go that I really wanted to work on and have finished and up on my wall to enjoy all year round. So July I decided I would try and hit that balance a little bit better. So we've got a mix this month of Jolly July and some whips for you to have a look at. It's been a busy stitching month, considering I was expecting not to get a huge amount done. It's still been a busy month, just life-wise, but I've only had one day where I couldn't actually stitch. That was the day we picked Ailey up from the airport when she flew home, and the day kind of got a bit pear-shaped with delayed flights and all sorts. It's a whole saga. Maybe one day I shall bore you with it. It involved a possible capybara costume and all sorts of different things. But that day, life just kind of got a bit pear-shaped and we didn't get home until much later than we were expecting. So there was no stitching done. But other than that, I hit 30 days of stitching in July. And I think not all my projects are on markup RXP, but I reckon I hit about 16,000 stitches over the month, which was an awful lot more than I was expecting. So some progress to show you on everything today. What else have we got for you? We have got plans, we have got, as always, the people here on Flosstube who have razzled my berries since the last time I saw you. I've got a Scottish word of the day for you. In fact, I actually have two for you. This time it's a buy one get one free offer, 2 for the price of 1. 2 Scottish words for you today, just for fun, and there's their usual bletherings and goings on as we go through. And I've got a couple of tiny little bits of haul that are just something a bit different I wanted to share with you, just because they're a kind of tangent for me. What else? I think that's pretty much covers everything. How quickly we'll get through this, who knows, because those of you who've been here before will, no, I'm not one for short videos, and most of you seem to really like that, so thank you for listening to my haverings and inane bletherings. Right, shall we just get straight into the stitching? Let's do that. The first couple of things I want to show you are special stitches. Well, returning viewers will know my daughter Ailey has just returned home after a year working at Epcot in Walt Disney World in Florida. So she got back a couple of weeks ago now, and it's just been kind of settling back into the routine. I have to apologise profusely for being absent on social media. I've been missing off Instagram, and I've been so bad at trying to keep up with comments here on YouTube. It's just not happened. I'm afraid I have prioritised my family, and I have been living in the most wonderful little bubble with my baby home, enjoying just spending time together. Bruce was away working for a week in Shetland, so it was kind of like girls only, and we had just the most wonderful time. It was blissful. And one of the best parts about that was Ailey is now a cross stitcher. She has completed her first project and she's on to the second and has more lined up. She's already kind of starting to figure out what her taste is and what she likes. So part of that bubble has been spending time stitching together and just putting the world to rights, just blethering away, catching up on a year. It was actually really easy just to fall back into our normal routine. It's been lovely having her here. It's been really wonderful. That said, a couple of weeks in, reality must now hit with normal routines and back to the kind of standard life, and she needs to get herself a wee job to keep herself going, but for now we've just been reveling in that. So I apologise so sincerely for those of you who have been kind enough to leave a comment, because I appreciate every single one of those comments and I thoroughly enjoy reading them and replying to them, and I'm really sorry I haven't got back to it. I will do it, I promise. But for now, I have Ailey's first bit of stitching to show you. Now she will maybe one day end up being a special guest here on my Flosstube channel, but not just now. Just now I have actually turfed my two overgrown children out into the garden. One's cutting the grass, the other is power washing the drive, so that I've got peace and quiet to record this. It is actually my second attempt. I tried to record this yesterday and I was almost finished and my phone had a meltdown and I lost everything. So this is strike two. So I'm a bit confused about what I've said, what I haven't said, where I am, what I'm doing, the usual. And you know what I'm like at the best of times. I've got lists written down because I have a brain like a sieve. So if I really go off on a tangent, excuse me. So yes, Ailey will maybe at some point grace us with her presence, and she will no doubt sit here and tease me. She's become very fond of coming and sitting in this particular seat. I'm normally sitting at the other side of the desk, and she comes and she's like, hello my flossy friends who live in my phone, how are you all today? And she just teases me. It's a compliment really, because it shows that she watches my floss tubes, but at the same time she's a cheeky wee madam. So she said that, in fact she asked if I would show you her first stitches, because she's so proud of herself, and right she should be. This is her very first. This is her little capybara with a little duck on top of its head. She has a huge soft spot for capybaras, as do a lot of girls in their 20s for some reason. So this was her first choice for stitching, and as first ones go, it wasn't possibly the easiest because there's a lot of shades of brown in there, and it's hard to tell them apart. This is actually a La Selva design from Etsy. It's the same designer who did the 3 raccoons I did back in the little tart tins a couple of months ago. Last month I think it was actually. Gosh, it seems a long time ago. So yes, that is her first one. It's going to be going in a little wooden hoop. That's how she's decided she wants to finish it. She thinks that's appropriate. We did try putting it in yesterday morning, but you know what these wooden hoops are like. The smaller the hoop, the harder it is. We didn't get it quite centred, so we'll give in with that and we will go back and do it when we're not feeling quite so rushed to get it done. So that is her little cappy, her first ever stitch. And I have to say, she picked it up and ran with it, and it's just a natural. So that is her first. So as I said, she's just still trying to find her taste, what she likes, what she doesn't like. She's quite whimsical, Disney obsessed, of course. And there's just so much out there to look at when you're first starting off that it's a bit overwhelming and not quite knowing where to start. So I've ordered her some kits that have actually just arrived a little while ago to keep her going. But in the meantime, she decided that she would work on this lovely lady. This is Merida, who is her favourite Disney princess because she's Scottish and she's sassy and she doesn't take any nonsense and she doesn't need a man to do what she wants to do. So it's very Ailey, very sassy. This is a design from Stitch Heroes on Etsy. Again, she's stitching it on white Aida, starting her off nice and simple so she kind of gets her groove. And already the difference between the stitching in her first one and this one is phenomenal. She's really, really picking it up quickly. And she went from being kind of like a brand newbie stitching on that capybara to stitching two-handed on a Lowry frame within a week. She just ran with it and is really enjoying it. She's thoroughly enjoying it. And I possibly might have unleashed a monster. So she's been working on this. That skirt, you can't actually see it, it's not being picked up very well here, but there are kind of like seams of darker green going up it. And then she's going to have an absolute mane of gingery red hair. I've put this in Markup RXP, my version of it, so that she could give it a try to see what she thought of it. And this is actually just over a third done, so that kind of gives you an idea of how much hair has still got to go in around here. It really is a mane of hair, and some eyebrows as well to frame that little face. But the face is just adorable. It's so pretty. She's called Little Merida. Yeah, Little Merida, from Stitch Heroes on Etsy. And I found some charts on there that I actually quite like for myself as well. There's a couple of really nice Wizard of Oz ones. And so I'm just finding a needle on the back. I'm just going to thread that through the fabric, because she literally took it off the Lowry to give to me to be able to do. So that's my two very special bits of stitches for my special little girl. Yeah, so shall we get on with mine now? I've only got one FFO to show you this month, and it's not a remotely exciting one. You'll know what it is because I do it every month. It's my monthly La Finestra del Tempo from Crochet Go Go. I'm sorry if you're hearing any background noise, that's them coming in and out the door. You saw this halfway through the month when I was working on it. I was telling you about how this one was special to me because of the koala and the backstory of my affection for koalas. And I have to say thank you very much for all your lovely kind comments. I haven't been replying, but I have been reading when I can. And I really appreciate all your kind words about my dad and why I'm so fond of koala bears. So that has come off the wall to come to show you today. That will be popped up back for my month marker as it normally is. So that's my only FFO. I've got two FOs to show you that I showed you in my mid-month recap, just because I'm showing you everything I've shown in July. I'm not going to talk about them at length. You've seen these already, both Primrose Cottage. The first one is the Christmas Rose. It comes down a bit further. I haven't FFO'd this because I'm thinking I want to make a fabric banner out of it. My sewing machine and I are now in slightly better speaking terms. I still don't trust it. I'm a little bit nervous about doing this. So yeah, I've been putting it off. I've been procrastinating. If you want any more information about that one, all the information about fabric, threads, all that is in my previous video. And the other one that you saw earlier as an FFO is this Christmas Wishes, again another Primrose Cottage. Normally I would have had this FFO'd for you. If you've been watching me going back to April, you know that I normally have one of these every month. If not, is there a couple? Yeah, there was a couple in April that I have been putting in plywood frames that I've either painted or I've decorated with paper and kind of fussed up a little bit. And I was going to do that with this one, but then I thought I would wait and see what kind of finishing materials came out when the Christmas decorations started to hit the shops, which, given that we're August and we're almost into the bear months, we're almost into the bear months are the best time of the year, and August is just, it's so close. We're almost there, so I can't imagine it'll be a huge amount of time before Christmas starts to hit the shops, because it seems to get earlier every year, she says, making herself sound really old. But yeah, I thought I would wait and see what kind of finishing items I could find once that kind of decor stuff hits the shops. We don't have access to anywhere near as nice finishing items at this side of the pond as they do over in the US. Quite limited. I could really go daft having a spending spree in Hobby Lobby or Michael's or wherever. But yeah, that's why this one hasn't been FFO'd. Normally it would have been, but it hasn't this time. So again, it's tea coffee dye fabric, DMCs, Jobs are Good In. I've got loads of their charts, that style, and I love them. So that's all my finishes. I've now got 2 new starts to show you, both of which happen to be sals. I went from having never done a sal, because I always kind of like to know what they're going to be. I'm not so keen on the mystery sal idea. I like to know what I'm going to be stitching. And I went from having none to having 2 at the same time. So these I've started mid-month. The first one is one that's organised by Jen Stitchy Corner. I will link all the information for this down below, so if you're interested in starting, it's absolutely not too late. This one started on the 21st of July, so we're, you know, not even a couple of weeks into it. It's an emerald forest embroidery chart, which was originally, was it 2019, I think it was? Came out as a stitch along that they released then. So the chart is already divided into 11 sections, perfect for a stitch along. So we're going to be doing a section a month for the next 11 months. This is where I'm going to find it hardest to not just race on and do the next bit, because that's, I kind of get a bit excited. I'm like an overeager Labrador puppy. I need to do this, I need to do the next bit, I need to do the next bit. So this is possibly about half of that first section. I've been delaying because I've been swithering about flosses that I want to use. I'm still not entirely convinced with the colours I've used so far. I've stitched the Yellow Brick Road, I think, twice in its entirety, some parts of it 3 times, trying to find the right kind of yellow. I'm still not sure that I have, but I've got more flosses coming. They should arrive, I think, probably Monday. Then I'll maybe crack on a bit, because I'll show you the photo of the whole thing in a second, but I've got Dorothy to do, Toto, and then there's a couple of kind of decor little elements to go in there as well. The fabric that I am stitching on is a 28 count Lugana from Picture This Plus. It's called Jade, and I love it. It's absolutely perfect. I worked my way through a few different fabrics that I'd ordered, trying to find the right one, and I just couldn't find something that was ticking all my boxes. So I ordered this from 123 Stitch, and then waited very eagerly for it to arrive, which it did just a few days ago, and I'm delighted with it. It's perfect. It is, for some reason, picking up the mottling a lot stronger here on the camera than it is in real life. There's nowhere near this kind of really, really dark differentiation there. In real life, it's kind of softer. It's not quite true. It's bleaching out a little bit, but not a huge amount. But it's just, I'm delighted with it. My flosses are, I'm going to be making them up as I go along. I've decided to stitch it on a 28 count because I would like to put some beads on it and bling it up. And they're going to fit nicer on a 28 than they are a 32. My original plan was I wanted to use the Mill Hill Treasures, some of the flowers. If I show you the chart, there we go. You'll see I'm down here in this corner. So there's the house and the tornado, Dorothy, Toto, and then those couple of elements that I was talking about. But there's like an arbor here, another one here, and another one here. plus a field of poppies in here. And my intention had been that I would use those little Mill Hill glass flowers instead of stitching. I wonder if I can get it without, I really don't like this ring light. I don't know if you can see it clear enough where the flowers are kind of dotted around those arbours. There's kind of blues, there's pinks, there's purples, and then there's the reds of the poppies. That had been my intention, and I was really, really excited about it. And I was spending a lot of time choosing which ones and trying to get the right size and all that kind of thing. And then I added it up, and I realised that to get all the glass treasures that I would need to do this was going to cost me, I think it was somewhere between 70 and 80 pounds. And there is absolutely no way on this planet that I can justify that. As lovely as it would be and as excited as I was, I just cannot justify, especially given the amount I'm spending on floss trying to find the colours that I like. There's just no way, as gorgeous it would be. So the bling will have to be beads rather than treasures. So that's how it's going to look. I think the second section, we come over here. Is that the good witch? I can't remember. The white witch? I can't remember. It's been so long since I've seen it. We've got the scarecrow and some corn. The scarecrow I am thinking of doing in the browns that he was wearing in the film. That's what's been so lovely about this stitch along, is that some of us are doing it for the film, some of us are doing it for the books. Lovely Garrett from the Coffee Stitcher, he is doing his on a TV series based. He's a huge Wizard of Oz fan, and he knows the lore and the fandom inside out, back to front. And it's really exciting watching his stitch come to life in a very different direction. He's already stitched this. He did it when it first came out for the SAL in 2019. So he's restitching it and has decided to take it in a slightly different direction, which is fab. People are doing it on different colour backgrounds, different kind of threads. Some are using the L4's thread, some are using standard DMCs. There's all sorts of different things going on, and the pattern lends itself beautifully to being personalised the way that suits you. I just happen to choose a ridiculously expensive one that is not going to happen. So there's still time to join. You're more than welcome. As I said, Jen from Jen's Stitchy Corner is the one running with this. You'll find her on Instagram and also on Facebook. She's set up a special Facebook group for us to all post our progress and can support each other, encourage each other. And as I said, I'll put the links down below for that. So that is my first new start. Going by this, my colours are going to be quite muted and subdued rather than in your face bright, but we'll see how we go. If I need to change a colour and unpick and you know, try and get the backgrounds a bit different, then I can do that. The second stitch along that I started is one run by Kat at Catkin and Lily in her Patreon group, and it's all things stitchy. Majority of people are stitching the Primrose Cottage stitching rules, which I didn't actually think to take a copy of to show you, but I'm sure most of you have seen it by now. It came out earlier this year, and it's a list of 7 kind of tongue-in-cheek stitching rules, and it's a fabulous design. It's the same kind of idea as the Christmas rules I've just shown you. I've got the hive rules, I've got the autumn rules, the same kind of format as all of that. 7 distinct sections to it, so 7 parts. But rather than everybody having to stitch that when she's decided to open up, so it's any kind of stitchy related chart is good to go. Now, as much as I do like that chart, and I will probably stitch it at some point, I've put a pin in it for now because it will end up here in my craft room, and at some point I'll be changing the colour scheme in here, so I'd rather kind of wait and do it in colours that are sympathetic, that are going to, you know, look really good in here, rather than jumping in and yeah, just rushing ahead. So I found a fabulous chart. This is by My Big Toe Designs, and this is where I'm at. As I said, it's a 7-part thing. I'm late starting this. It was the 1st of July was the official start date. Although, again, if you would like to become a member of Kat's Patreon, I can't even speak, absolutely, I would recommend it. It's a fabulous Patreon group, really lovely people. She's got forums set up where everybody can chat. There's threads about the stitch along so that everybody can post their progress, and you can see all the different charts that people are doing. And she also is generous with freebies and with extra videos that don't go in her Flosstube, and it's ridiculously reasonably priced. So I would encourage you, if you hadn't, to have a wander over to Catkin and Lily Patreon and see what you think. It'd be lovely to have you there. So, as I said, I'm slightly late starting, but I have gone for a slightly smaller chart. Now, let's see if I can try and get this without the glare. And as I said, this is a My Big Toe chart, and there's 4 lines of text plus the 2 borders. So I thought 6 parts. I can easily catch up on being a month behind. It says, I'll do it so you can hopefully read it. Oh, unless I press buttons. There we go. She says, trying to get that glare. I don't like that I'm now using a ring light. There's just not quite enough natural light to trust. It says, God grant me the ability to stitch the stash I have, to have the stash I want, and the time to stitch it all, which is something I think would resonate with all of us. Its visual title is Time to Stitch the Serenity-ish Prayer. So I decided that would be my stitch because it is very, very appropriate for me, because I just want to stitch all of the things all of the time, and they all have to be ready and good to go. So I am stitching mine on a 32 count fabric flare even weave in grey swirl, and you can see that the swirl's quite clearly there. That's DMC 336 I'm doing it in, which is a dark but still reasonably vibrant blue, and I ended up putting this in a Q-snap along a thin one. I can't think what the measurements would be, but it was just the perfect size to put it in. So I popped it in and I kind of randomly picked where the centre was. I've not actually done that great a job. I think I'm slightly off to one side, but not by much. But I kind of thought, right, okay, that's kind of where the centre is. Let's just go from there. And I stitched this, and literally the frame was from there to there. It was stitch perfect. I would have been struggling to get another stitch in at each end. I could not do that again if I tried. It just worked out perfectly, which tickled my funny bone no end. So that's the first line done. I'm not sure whether I'm going to go up another line of border and then down, how I'm going to do it, but I've got a little while to figure that out. So that's that one. Right. I decided, you know, essentially I was trying to find this balance between seasonal stitches and everyday stitching. I'm going to have to take a glug if you excuse me. Trying to find that balance. And I've got so many Christmas and Halloween projects on the go and also ready to start. I've got loads, especially Halloween. I could stitch Halloween all year round. I just love it. So I decided this month that I was already doing Christmas because it's Jolly July, but I thought moving forward I'm going to try and work, even if it's just a few stitches, on a Christmas project on the 25th of the month, and on the last day of the month I'm going to work on a Halloween project. I can't do the 31st because not every month has a 31st, and it would be cheating not to do it every month. So the last day of the month I'm going to work on a Halloween project, and it just depends which one randomly comes out of the pile. This month I went for a Doreen Jones When Witches Ride, which was actually a last minute addition to the plan back in May when I was doing halfway to Halloween. So this is it here. This, when I picked it up, had, where was it, 9.17%. I since added in on the 31st 633 stitches. It's all in 310, which took it to 14.74%. I kind of worked, the tree was down to about here, so I've taken the tree down, we've come across the start of the fence. This is the start of a little house here, and the first of the pumpkins, and then this is going to be filled in with orange, and then there's going to be a luminous glow-in-the-dark thread in the eyes and mouth there of the pumpkin. I've got a photo here I can show you. I don't know why I'm explaining it to you. I could be showing you this is it. So as you can see, I am working down here. Now it's at 14.74%, was it said, which is 1,674 stitches out of 11,355. I think that's very much bottom heavy. Now I've obviously tried to squeeze it onto a piece of fabric, because I've still got about, I think, another 5 stitches to do down here of the orange, and then the border. Now I'm going to be framing this myself, but it's going to be a bit of a tight squeeze. If I'm feeling it's a little bit too nippet, I will possibly just ditch the border. It's only a 3 stitch deep border, so I'll probably get away with it. Whether I enjoy stitching it, I don't know. But yeah, so that was this month's kind of random pick. Like I say, everything so far is 310. The fabric is a 14 count Ada. It was, well, it still is underneath. A Zweigart, what's it called? Is it Stormy Grey? Vintage Grey, I think it is, that I just kind of over dyed to make it a little bit more Halloweeny, darker, more mottled. And I've got a companion piece to this, which is not quite the same grey, but it's not far off, and they'll not be sitting right next to each other, so it'll be fine. So that was this month's Halloween stitching. So the next one I have got to show you is one of my favourite charts. I was so excited to start this one, and I'm stitching it on one of my, well, not my absolute favourite, but I like a blue fabric. Do like a blue fabric. So this is Great White Christmas from Boomerang Stitches, which I'm stitching on a 32 count sapphire from Fibre on a Wing, which is beautiful, and it kind of resembles the deep blue sea. So if I show you what the whole chart is going to look like, so you know what I'm aiming for. Here it's stitched on grey on just a plain white. I've gone completely opposite direction, so I have done this first row of the border with like the fishies, and I've started working in here. I've got I'm, and then I think I'm as far as the D, yeah, past the D and onto the R of the I'm dreaming of a. So then you've got the big shark in the middle, Great White Christmas underneath, and then this kind of really intense fun border down here. So a lot of stitching in it. And beautiful fabric. I am using sulky white to stitch this, the lightweight 12 count, and it's an absolute dream to stitch with. It's so much nicer than 2 strands of DMC. 1 strand would have been too thin on this, 2 strands probably would have been too much, and I hate stitching with white. It seems to twist and not lie right, and it of all the colours I can't understand why that one is so much more troublesome, but this has made the sulky has made stitching this so much more enjoyable. And I have to say, I did the border when I showed you this back in the middle of the month. I had done that border, and I've been working on this area since, which is a fair amount of solid stitching. I've added in an extra 820 stitches in just this area. So it's quite dense, and I have to say a few hundred of those, maybe 200-300, were whilst I was watching Jaws. It just seemed the absolute perfect movie. I don't like scary movies, I don't like horror movies, I don't like suspense movies when the music builds and you know something's about to happen but you still jump out of your skin when it does. But for some reason Jaws I just love. It's no longer scary because you know exactly what's going to happen, and you know what the kind of gory bits are, and it doesn't have the same in-your-face impact that it did the first time you watched it, which has been a lot of decades now. But I love it. If it's ever on the telly, I will watch it, and I will watch it online as well. So I sat stitching away on Great White Christmas, watching Jaws, and it was just bliss. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So that is the first of my Christmas stitches. The next few are all Christmas, so we'll just rattle on. These are all ones that you saw mid-month that I decided I wanted to push on a little bit more with, and I kind of set myself goals of what I wanted to try and achieve. And I would say that I have exceeded all those goals, other than the one that I hit, the others I've exceeded. So the first one we have got is the lovely Miss Flossie Claus. She is a Lizzie Kate stand-up. The last time you saw this, the green of her dress was in and one side of her cape, and that was it. So I have added into her another 950 stitches doing this bit and here, bringing the total to the month for her to 1695. I should have said, sorry, my total for Great White Christmas, because it was also a new start in July, is 1515 stitches. So a fair amount gone into both of these. Like I say, 1695 in July has gone into this, which it doesn't look like it, but it's actually a really quick stitch. It's done in overdyed, so it's a slightly slower stitching process, but it's just really easy, other than trying to count to make sure that your lines, you know, everything is where it should be. It's just kind of back and forward stitching, so really easy to stitch while you're sitting watching the telly, or in our case, Ailey and I chattering away. So I shall show you a photo of what lovely Flossie Claus is going to look like when she is finished, and she's got all her accessories, because they really make the whole thing. That's her there. As I said, when I was doing my Halloween stitching Flosstube, I've never done one of these stand-ups before, and I got 4 charts to do. I got Flossie Claus and her main man Needle Nick, and then I got Vinnie Von Fang and Betty Broomstick, who I worked on both of those back in May. Didn't make quite as much progress. They're actually bigger than I was kind of expecting them to be, but I'm really excited to finish this. Helen D has a great finishing tutorial how to do these stand-ups. This is stitched on 28 count Lugana, just in light top. The chart comes with a kind of cutting guide to get the right size, and it's on a 28 count. So I've gone with that so that it actually fits right. But all those accessories, we've got the wreath, and we've got those fabulous little wire trim glasses. I don't know if you can see there, the trim on her cape is Whisper, so I think I'm going to leave that to the end, and that'll be the last thing I add in before I make it into the stand-up, and then add all the other little bits on afterwards. I think that's the right order that you're meant to do things in, so that's why I haven't finished off that cape yet. So that's Flossie Claus, and her main man is Needle Nick. This is where I am. Now, the last time you saw this, I'd got, I think, most of the red of this side of his jacket done. I think I was most of the way up the tree. That was it. I had it, when you last saw this, I'd done 285 stitches, so it wasn't much of a start at all. I have since added in another 1480 stitches, taking it to 1765 in total. So he's, what, 70 stitches ahead of Flossie, and where he's at, I've kind of finished the tree, I filled in the pot, his glove and his cuff, and I've got that, and I've done the other side of his coat. Now I shall show you again with what he's going to look like when he's finished, because he again has some absolutely fabulous accessories to go. And he's got a parcel, there's little gold bows, there's all sorts of wonderful things happening there. But you can see, if I can go from him back to Flossie, that there's a fair bit more stitching in Nick. Flossie has a total of 4,522 stitches, whereas Nick has 8,190. He is not quite twice the size, but he's getting on for it. He's a big lad. So there's an awful lot more stitching in him, considering that, you know, I've put around 1,700 stitches in both of them. Flossie is at 37.47%. Nick here is only at 21.5%. Still an awful lot of stitching to go on him. But he's been a really enjoyable stitch. They both have. So yeah, don't think they'll be ready for this Christmas, but next Christmas I would like to see. So that's Flossie and Nick. So the next one I've got is another Christmas one. Again, you've seen this before. This is Country Cottage Needleworks Merry Christmas, My Dear. this is my no idea, because his eyes are going to be beads, so I won't add those on until I finish the whole stitch. And I'm also going to put little red beads in here as the decorations on the tree. So the last time you saw this, I had the deer down, the snow, and I think, I can't remember if I was finished this tree or if I was working on this tree, and the kind of the start of the snow here. And my aim had been to finish that half of it, which I've done. So for that, it had, let me just get rid of the sheet of paper. At the start of the month, I put in 509 stitches. I've now added another 522, so kind of almost double what I had last time. So that is at 30.99%. I'll show you what it's going to look like. I should say, sorry, I'm putting it away. It's in DMCs that I've just pulled from Stash that are the right kind of colour, and that's a 32 count Zweigart Petit Point on taupe, light taupe. Let me have a look at my list. Light taupe. So these dots are printed on. They're not the kind of printing that you get on like Fabric Flare or that. They're almost like little dollops of paint. So you kind of have to stitch through them, and it kind of cracks slightly on the surface. It's a little bit weird, especially stitching white on top of them. It's kind of a bit odd, but I really like how it looks in the end. It looks like it's snowy. So that's that. So this is what we are aiming for here. So as you can see, I've done this half across here. So we've got his girlfriend, no idea, and then there's the banner at the top and the words, Merry Christmas, my dear. So that might be one of the ones that gets picked up on the 25th over the next couple of months. We'll see. If not, there is its companion piece, which is actually a little bit further on. It's 43%, so it's a little bit closer, but it has about 1,000 less stitches in it, which helps. So last time you saw this, I had put in the massive amount of 248 stitches in this, which was basically just wonderful, and that was it. That's all I had done. Stitched in the same fabric, same colour palette of DMC from Stash. So since then, I've added in the top half of the wording. I've started this banner across here. We have no eye gingerbread as well. It's not quite as funny, but no eye gingerbread, because again, I'm going to pop some beads on for their eyes and buttons. So there's another gingerbread man here and a heart, and then this kind of evergreen bough across the top as a border, and it's just the same thing flipped and on the other side. So that is kind of making more progress. It might be closer to being up this year than the other one. In an ideal world, it would be the two of them, but we can but hope. We'll just see how we get on. I will be doing Christmas stitching again, possibly November, December time. So that is what it's going to look like when it's finished. So that is Country Cottage Needleworks, and it's called Most Wonderful Time. No, Wonderful Time of Year. It is Wonderful Time of Year. So yeah, there's that one. So that is all my Christmas stitching. All brand new starts in July. That will now get tucked away, other than the 25th of month, until, as I said, into November, December time, when they will come back out to be played with again. So the next one I have on my list here is, these are 3 whips that I showed you mid-month that had not had any work done on them since March, when I'd been focusing on seasonal stitching, and that I wanted to crack on and get some stuff done on. So the first one here, I would imagine a lot of you will know what this is as soon as I show you. Just from that, it's Plum Street Sampler Spring Moon. This is stitched on 32 count Pole Stitches Lightning Strike, which I just love. You're going to see this fabric again in a few minutes. I love this fabric. This is actually one of the darker bits I've had off it. I've got some that are just ever so slightly paler, different dye batch. But I love it. It's nice to stitch on. So As I say, most of you will have seen this chart. It's been hugely popular, but I'll show you what it's going to look like when it's finished, just in case you haven't. As you can see, I have changed mine up and I am stitching on a very different colour. I can't remember who it was now because I have a brain like a sieve. Somebody showed their finish on Instagram on a blue fabric in a kind of distressed white type off-white frame, and it just looked fabulous. And I had been swithering for months about what fabric I wanted to stitch this on, and I couldn't decide. I'd done floss tosses on lots of different colours. I'd been kind of mottled greens, greys, all sorts, and I just could not settle. And I saw this photo. I wish I could remember who it was to give them credit. And I'm like, that's the one. That's exactly how I want to do it. So I have. So this, I've got a needle minder there. At the start of July, before I started stitching on it, I had done the outline, the dark of the basket, tiny little bit of the terracotta, and I'd pretty much just done the outline of the roof. And then I cracked on. I decided I just needed to pull up my big girl pants and just dive in and get through that roof, because there's an awful lot of stitching on that. And by the time I sewed you in mid-July, not mid-January, mid-July, I think I was probably about there, coming across, probably about a third of the way across the roof. And I kind of told myself, put some in the roof, treat yourself to a nice bit. Put some in the roof, treat yourself to a nice bit. But I thought, no, just get it done. Break the back off it, get it done, because then you can enjoy the rest of the stitch. So I have finished the roof, and I have finished the fill in the terracotta for the basket on the top. So earlier this month, when I showed it to you in July, I had 1,223 stitches in it, which was still, I'd kind of added several hundred at that point. It now has 2,394 stitches. In the last couple of weeks of July, I added another, where are we, 1,171 stitches into that, and it's now 16.34%. So a lot of the, the main grunt work is done. If I take the photo back, I'm going to come back to this when I'm talking about my berries being razzled, because there's somebody stitching this that I wanted to talk to you about. But as you can see, I've got a huge big block stitching here again in the house. That isn't all solid though, it's little blocks of 4, alternate, like a kind of checkerboard, 4 and 4s, with the windows in. So it'll take a little bit more thinking, but then after that's done, it's more of the fun stitching, that beautiful hair and the flowers and the moon and all the fun bits. So I'm happy that I've kind of got that done, because I had been avoiding it. I don't know if you remember, if you saw my video back in April, my first proper floss tube rather than my finishes video. I'd started at the start of April as part of my spring stitching, because it's spring moon, and I hadn't liked it. I'd done all the dark of the basket, and I did it 2 strands over 2 on the 32 count. And it was just too dense, too dark. So I unpicked it. There was, I think it was about 500 stitches I frogged. And I was so fed up with the sight of it that it got put in timeout. I never picked it back up. It was back to blank fabric. There was nothing, no stitch left on it at all. And then at the very end of April, I'm like, okay, you wanted to start this in April, you're going to have to do it. So I think I've kind of had a negative kind of feel with this one. It was almost like it was in timeout. I was kind of just a bit scunnered off it. But now that I've got the basket and the roof done, I feel like I'm starting to make a little bit of progress, and that I can actually enjoy it a little bit more now. So I'm not saying it'll be done anytime soon. There's a lot of stitching in it. What is it? It's not a huge amount, but what have we got? 14,651 stitches in total. So I'm at 16.34%. So I've still got a really long way to go, and I'm not expecting to get that done quickly. but the worst bit hopefully is over. But I'll come back and talk about that again in a little while. So the penultimate piece I've got, again you saw earlier this month, and it's one of my favourites, is Celebrate Bees. This is Madame Chantilly chart. I have 9 of these tier trays. I like a tier tray. I decorate a tier tray in my hallway seasonally, and I'm a sucker for a tier tray. So when I saw these I couldn't resist, and I got 9 of them. I've got this one, this is the Celebrate Bees. I've also got the Celebrate Spring, Summer, Autumn, Winter, Valentine's, Easter, Halloween and Christmas, that I'm hoping to spend some time stitching on next year. That's one of the things I'm aiming to do in 26. But this one isn't seasonal as such. This one could go up all year round until I get any of those finished, so I'm keen to push on with this one. And it's just a ridiculously cute stitch as well. So that's where we're at. Again, this hadn't seen any love since March. I started this on the 13th of March as my birthday startle, and I got a fair bit done in March, and then it got kind of put to the side. Again, there's a huge amount of stitching in this chalkboard sign here behind the words. So I had done kind of all of this and the flowers, and that was where I was at. So I picked it up again in July, and I kind of did this honey pots, and I started on the bee girl here. And my aim for, I think I had the tray itself, the tier tray itself, up to about kind of her waist. So my plan had been that in July, and I don't know if you can see, there is actually a lid on that jar there, and it doesn't show up very well. I think it's popping better here than it is in real life. Obviously it likes the light coming from the ring light. These are DMC Blanc. I think for the others in the series I'm going to go for B50-200, just for hopefully a little bit more of a pop, because I'm stitching them all on the same fabric, which is a 28 count Zweigart in, is it grey, light grey? It's quite a soft silvery grey. It's a lovely fabric. So yeah, to maybe get a little bit more pop, although you can see it quite well there. So yes, my plan had been that I would finish the rest of the bee lady and this bee, and then this section of the tier tray would be done. As you can see, I got a little bit carried away and went over, and I have done the other side as well. So we've got a teacup here with a tea bag hanging out of it. We've got the little mouse, and he's got his honey stirrer, and I'm assuming this is a bit of honeycomb that he's getting his honey from to put in his tea. Did all that, and I took the tiers up and across, and I've added on kind of like little bits of vine just to kind of fill in, as I've been doing on the top, and the first of the flowers. So I was meant to be finishing this side, and I ended up finishing this whole bit here. I'll show you what it's going to look like when it's finished. It's not the best of photos. I've taken a screen cap because my picture from a chart, it was a PDF I got, and it's not the best quality when it's printed out, and it's got my name and address all over the front of it, because when you order a PDF from her direct, she, for security measures, puts your name and address on it so you can't sell it on. Excuse me. Got a scratchy throat today. So this is it here. So you can see where I'm up to, kind of about here. I've done the bottom 2 bits. They all have this love bees, love spring, whatever it is in the bottom. I chose not to do those words. I just want the tier tray itself to stand on its own. And what they're going to do is they're all going to come out pretty much the same kind of size. So they're all going to get mounted on a board, again, with lots of washers and magnets to hold them, so I can swap them out seasonally, and the frame will stay in one place to go in them. So this is what it's going to look like when it's finished. So on that top we've got the beautiful bright bee skep, and a mug. I think it's got honey written on it. It's kind of backwards for me, with some pretty daisies and bees. I don't mind doing these big fluffy bumblebees but these little bees here drive me nuts. They're like 2 stitches here and 2 stitches there, but they're worth it because they're very, very cute. So that is what happens next. That being said, when I started, or halfway through the month, I had 7,402 stitches. Since then, I've now got it to 8,934 stitches. So I've added another 1,532 stitches to it, which takes it to 75.31%. Now I've got this on Markup RXP, so I could delete out the words. So that stitching isn't part of the equation. So it's literally just that is what my total stitch count is. So I'm at 75%, 3/4 of that, which will give you an idea just how much more stitching there is in the top bit than these other tiers. You can see they're kind of like twice the height. So still got a lot of stitching to go in that one. It's not going to be a quick finish, but it's an awful lot closer now than it was at the start of July. Like I say, that's 1,500 stitches gone into it, and it's made a big difference. And I actually really enjoyed stitching on this one. It's quite sweet. So yeah, that's that one. I only have one project left to show you. And again, I showed it to you mid-month, and I set my list of what I would like to achieve with it. And I did that and just a little bit more as well. So this is Cottage Garden Samplings, the reindeer, and I love this. I just love it. Again, I'm on that lightning strike fabric. If I can try and find where I was, you'll see what I was meaning about how this bit is just that little bit, you can't really see it hugely, it's a little bit darker. If I show you the whole, but you can see there's just a slight difference in the dye lots there. But this piece of fabric is a part of a bigger piece that I've stitched the fox on, which also has very kind of complementary colours. They make a really lovely pair. So the plan is that these will be framed together next to each other, individual frames but next to each other on the wall. And I finished the fox ages ago, I think back in February. So I've just got this one to finish, and I've been so busy doing all the other stitching I haven't given it the attention that it deserves. So when you last saw this in the middle of the month, I had 4,362 stitches in it, and my intention had been, I had just started filling in the white on the stag's chest here, and my plan was to finish that fill in because it was going to be reasonably easily filled in. I had started the log cabin, but I was probably about 1/3 of the way through it. The tree wasn't in, and none of these snowflakes were in, and the face wasn't finished. And I don't think actually this part of the antler had been done either. I think this part had, this part hadn't. So I decided, I was really enjoying stitching on it, I would just push on a little bit further. So now everything is done from the antler down. So there's just the big curly antlers themselves, and then there's a few snowflakes to dot in as well. So I've added another 618 stitches into that. So that's 1,691 stitches for the month, which has got me at 87.41%. It's kind of almost within touching distance of being finished, which I'm really excited about. My hope had been, or not my hope, my plan, my intention had been that I would have the 2 of them framed and on the wall by the end of the year. That's definitely going to happen. I'm going to make that happen. It's so achievable now. But this is what it looks like when it's finished. So you can see those huge, big, curly, ornate antlers. And there's a few snowflakes at the top as well. So still a fair few stitches to go in. Where are we? I've got about 14. No, I'm telling you lies. I'm just trying to think. There's about 800 stitches left, which is touching distance. That's half of what I put in at this month. So it's absolutely really achievable. So yeah, so that kind of brings me neatly on to plans, where I'm going from here on in. I haven't quite decided, is the honest answer. August, I decided to do summer stitching. beaches, bees, flowers, that kind of seasonal stitching. Again, so I've got things to put up with my tier tray and all that through the year. And I've got, I think, I've got a list of about 16, 18 potential starts, some of which are small, some of which are medium. There's nothing huge in there, not that I can think of. But yeah, a few different things. I will not be starting anywhere near that much. I did that in April and May, and got really, really stressed about it. I just took on far too much. I'm happy to do starts because I always think it's easier to pick something up and crack on with it once it's been started. It just seems a little bit more of an effort to pick it up and start it. So if I start it and put it away, it'll be easier to come back to. And as much as my whip numbers are going up, I don't mind so much the seasonal ones, because I will pop those away and I will not worry about them until it's time to stitch on them again. I include them in my whip numbers, which I have no idea which it is at the moment. It was only about 4, sorry, I've just knocked the table. It was only about 4 at the start of the year. It's probably 10 times that now, because of all the things I've started along the way. Although I've had a fair few finishes as well. So yeah, I don't worry about those. So I'm quite happy to start things and pop them away. And this is where I'm trying to find the balance between the seasonal and the non-seasonal. So I won't be starting 16, 18 projects next month for sure. I had a list of about the same kind of number to start for Christmas this time, and I'm like, no, not doing it. There's lots of other Christmases, plenty of time. I'm not going to overwhelm myself and have too many projects on the go. I'll pick, was it 6, 8, something like that, and I'll put some stitches in them over the next couple of years. Some of them will be finished this year, some of them next year. White Christmas might take a little bit longer again, but yeah, I'm not overwhelming myself. So there will be summer stitches. I haven't decided which ones yet. It'll be a case of what takes my fancy, and to balance that, I'm going to be working on existing whips. Now, the original plan had been to kind of rotate those whips, so that everything got a little bit of love. So I had originally thought about doing, well, I'm definitely going to be working on Gathering Bright Blooms. Really want to make some progress on that because it's so beautiful, and again, I'm really excited to get it up on the wall. That was the Robin Pickens design I did on the dark blue fabric with the really bright flowers for Ailey's birthday start back in June. Really want to get some working on that, so that's definitely on the list. Rainbow Crossing is definitely on the list. I started that again in June for the first anniversary of our last Pussycat Zach's passing, and it's a lovely stitch, or so far it is. I thought it'd be really emotional stitching it, but I'm actually finding it really cathartic and really enjoyable and relaxing, what I've been doing so far. So that will get some more love. I had thought at that point about going back and working some more on the Cottage Garden Samplings Raccoon. I thought about going back and doing Raccoon Rabble. Spring Moon needs some progress. But I have a feeling that I won't be able to resist going and working on the reindeer. The thought is maybe to spend a week focusing on each, so have 4 kind of focus pieces, whips that I'm working on in the month. I'm not saying that I'll work a week solid on each of them. I maybe swap them around. I've gone from being a monogamous stitcher when I first started in the late 80s, 90s, to being an absolute floozy and jumping around between things quite happily. So I might kind of swap around, but I haven't decided what those 4 are. It's definitely going to be Gathering Bright Blooms. It's definitely going to be Rainbow Crossing, and the other 2, well, I think we'll both just wait and find out together. We'll see. So that's the main stitching plans. I also want to get back to playing with felt. I did one felt piece for a friend's birthday this month. I didn't actually think to take a photo of it before I gave it to her to show you. I spent all that money on those posh dies, and as I kind of mentioned before, there's a little bit more skill to it than I had first appreciated, a little bit of a learning curve to get them to finish nicely, and I'm still playing around with what works, what doesn't, what I like, what I don't like, techniques, all that caboodle. So I'd like to try and spend a little bit of time playing with felt this month if I get the opportunity. So that's got to be fitted in as well. Plus I've got the 2 Sals, I've got the Emerald City, the next section of that, and the next line of the Catkin and Lily stitchy Sal. So those 2 will definitely get done. I'm hoping that by the end of August I will have the first and the second Emerald City sections completely finished, bar the beading. I'll go back and add the beading on afterwards. So yeah, I've been doing a lot of kitting up to try and get things organised. So I've got things that I can choose from if the mood takes me. That being said, I've still got to cut some fabric and edge it and that kind of thing. I hope to get that done yesterday after I finished recording my Flosstube, and then everything went boom technology wise, and my sense of humour went boom, and it never happened. So I'll maybe get a chance to do that depending on if the overgrown kids are back in or not. I should really go out and try and offer them some help, shouldn't I? So yeah, as I mentioned before, Christmas project on the 25th of the month, Halloween project on the last day of the month. Which one